everyone, and welcome back to the channel for today's video. So in today's video I am going to be doing my build for Aladdin and Jasmine's home over here in Eternity Isle in the Glittering Dunes. Obviously I feel like this is going to be a very popular spot for their house to go because obviously it just fits in the desert, but I wanted to show you guys how I've designed their house, the different areas I've given this section, because it is quite a big section for a very small house. So I will show you kind of the different areas I created and the landscape I gave their house. So let's get started. So as you can see, I've started by placing out a bunch of the furniture and items that I knew I was going to be using and getting Aladdin and Jasmine's house into this back right corner. This is where I kind of decided they'd go, because if you look at their house from this angle, you can see the Agrabah Palace behind them, which I felt like was just so fitting. So I decided to pop them in this corner. I left some space behind, obviously, to decorate with trees and stuff like that, so the house wasn't too far back and too hidden. And now I'm going in with some of the bigger furniture items to start mapping out a layout of what I want to create. Now, obviously there's some stuff in here that are new in Scrooge's shop that I wanted to include, and I also included the kind of new gazebo item from the Star Path, but apart from that, most of the other stuff is stuff we already had in game. Now, as you can see, the first main decorating I'm doing is the inside of this gazebo. I wanted to get these smaller items kind of placed, so I added in some of the new cushions, some of the new chairs and stools that we get in the Star Path as well as in Scrooge's store, and added in some of the craftable cobra statues from Eternity Isle. Obviously I do use some Eternity Isle furniture in this build because obviously that's where we're decorating, so it kind of makes sense, and there is some really cool Aladdin themed items in here that worked really well for this. So I wanted to get this gazebo mapped in first, and then I started using some of the craftable wooden planks to start making my main pathway. I wanted to use these for the path because they fit the rustic desert vibes that obviously this build has. So I started placing that in and figuring out the layout of it, because I knew there was going to be a lot of pathway going on in this build, and I just felt like the actual path in game would be a bit too structured and wouldn't have that rustic look that I wanted. So I started placing that in and kind of making everything angled the right way I wanted it to, and giving it this really nice curved look. Now for the main centerpiece of this build, I obviously wanted to use Jasmine's fountain from the premium shop. This is obviously an exact kind of replica of the one in the movie, so I wanted this to be the main centerpiece of this area. Now, as this area has kind of an entrance and an exit that are kind of almost straight ahead of each other, I knew I'd have to curb the pathway slightly to go around this fountain, which I felt like I kind of achieved with making the wood planks go round. Now that we have the angled rotation, it made this so much easier to achieve. And then I also added in a couple of the new planter trees that I actually got in the realm in a chest, but I know you can also get these in Scrooge's, I'm pretty sure. And I added a couple of those into the kind of entrance way to the fountain, and I will obviously decorate around these later with some foliage and stuff to make it blend a little bit more. But then I started going in with some of the smaller furniture, such as the light candelabras, added those around, and then obviously started working on the little market section in the back. Now, as you can see here, I've gone for a little kind of like mini campsite little market area. I used a couple of the new stalls that are from Scrooge's and started adding all of these smaller, more cluttered items into the build and around this area. I obviously wanted to still keep the rustic look and feel of Agrabah, so I added in a lot of barrels and crates and things like that, and wanted the foliage to kind of match that, but at the same time had the kind of more structured and royal areas such as the big gazebo seating area to fit Jasmine's character. So I wanted to kind of give a hint to both characters within the build and really capture both of their personalities and their styles. Now, as you can see for foliage in the build, I went for a combination of a lot of different trees. I added in obviously the Eternity Isle desert trees, and I also added in a couple of the Sunlit Plateau ones as well as some palm trees to kind of break it up and give it this more kind of busy look. As much as obviously this is the desert and is quite barren, I wanted this area to really feel like it had a lot of life to it. So I also added in some of the base game bushes all around the pathway around the fountain to again fit that kind of more royal, lively feel. So in this build, it was a lot of mix and match, so I definitely think you could adapt this to how you want it to feel. If you wanted it to feel a lot more royal and built up, I would definitely add a lot more greenery to kind of accommodate to that. And then if you wanted to have it the more rustic, rundown kind of desert look, again, just don't use maybe as much greenery as I did, but I wanted to kind of have a nice mix between the two, so it still had that desert feel with the cacti and the more dried out plants and things like that, but the area around the house to be a little bit more structured and feel a lot more looked after. Now, as you can tell at this point of the build, I am taking all the remaining furniture that I had placed out and finding spots for them or deciding if I even wanted to use them at all. There was quite a lot of furniture that I did place out originally, because if you don't know, or not familiar with my builds, I like to place the furniture early on so that I don't miss anything, because having a long furniture list means that you can tend to miss stuff. So I kind of went through that, picked and chose what I wanted to use, and then obviously got rid of the stuff that I didn't feel like fit with the build anymore. And then I started adding in the last kind of areas of foliage all around, and kind of worked on the back of Aladdin Jasmine's house, because I wanted to fill in this back section but also make sure you could still see the Agrabah castle behind in that kind of main view. Now, the final kind of addition to the build was to add a couple little items into the market stalls. I decided to add some like pots and kind of clay kind of statues and things like that to make it look like a very eclectic market of maybe what Abu had managed to steal in the markets and kind of brought back. But I feel like with these market stalls you could definitely put whatever you wanted in here. I feel like it would be great if you put a bunch of fruit and a bunch of vegetables as well. So there's definitely a lot you could do with these to kind of make it unique and have added Aladdin's little spot here. So here is the final build. As you can see, we're coming in from the entrance, and we have first got our curved pathway going all the way around to the gazebo. I've added in the lagoon from the Lion King kind of items here, because it really fits with the desert feel, I feel like. And then we have our gazebo, which, as you can see, some characters are hanging out in. Now, this is such a cute, busy spot. I wanted this to really feel like somewhere Jasmine would hang out and invite kind of other princesses over to spend time with her. And I used a lot of the new and existing Aladdin stuff in there. And then we've got our pathway leading us into the grand entrance. As you can see, the fountain is the main focus, which is what I wanted it to be, and we've got some of the planters on the left and right side to create this nice symmetrical pathway pattern as well. And then if we go out to the left, we've got this little mini market spot, which I felt like was more Aladdin's kind of area. So we've got a little mini campsite, and we've got a couple of market stalls where all the goods are displayed, and as I said, I feel like this is where Abu would put his stuff. Then we've got the entrance out to where we go to Agrabah Palace with some of the camels from a previous star path, and then we have got the right side where Jasmine and Aladdin's house is, with some really simple decoration around it. So here are some shots of the final build. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I was a bit worried with how small their house is. I didn't want it to be overshadowed or kind of, you wouldn't really notice it. But I feel like the addition of the fountain with the curved pathway around it just created this really beautiful centerpiece and managed to fill up this very big section of the biome without it overshadowing it too much. And I feel like the different areas for Jasmine and Aladdin worked really well for their characters and kind of capturing who they are. Let me know down below what you think of the build, and have you decorated yet with Aladdin and Jasmine's home? I was debating doing it for a while because obviously it means coming over to Eternity Isle to be able to hang out with them and stuff like that, but I felt like I really just wanted them to have a solid place in the valley, and I felt like it was a nice kind of addition to be able to use some of the new items as well. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed my content, and there'll be more build videos coming up with some of the new premium shop houses from me, so definitely hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when you can see those, and also for when I go live. Thank you so much for watching, appreciate all the support, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!